each federal department may have some things they do which are good. And so what can you do with that? You might be able to spin those down.
Like the census, right? For instance.
Well, I don't really know if I believe in the census, but
yeah, but that's in the Constitution, so we sort of
well,
got to do that.
Therefore, there you go. So, of course, then you got.
I mean, it'd be nice if the
Constitution
wasn't even around.
Well, I think it's funny when I refer to the Constitution, of course I am saying Constitution. I think I believe more in the Bill of Rights because, Prohibition of the 18th Amendment, that was a disaster. 16th Amendment, I didn't agree with that. So I think a lot of the later amendments, may be more subject to argument. But, the Bill of Rights, I think, is
14th.
The key.
You didn't have a problem with the 14th, did you?
No, that's due process. And I think
13th?
That's fine.
13th?
I don't remember. Remind me what the 13th Amendment is.
This is slavery.
Well, of course, that was very important.
I mean, okay. Just check.
That was the only prohibition that ever worked in the history of the United States. You talk about prohibiting alcohol. That's the problem. And that's another issue I have with liberties is when you prohibit things that people want that don't have victims, it creates organized crime. So Al Capone came out of the prohibition of alcohol. Now you've got the discussion about drugs, which I believe are more of a health problem than a crime. And what happens? We get the cartels around the world. Mm-hmm. Prostitution is a personal choice, and when you bring people in, essentially what that does is it builds human trafficking.
Right.
It's so everything you prohibit creates an opposite, even worse situation. And so, when you're talking about things like prohibition, I asked this question to people, and I did get caught on the 13th Amendment when I was running for president. Because I said nothing we've ever prohibited ever worked, and they say, "What about slavery?" Well, okay, you got me there.
Right.
But when you think about it, that's the only thing we've ever prohibited.
Well, we've prohibited discrimination based on race and creed, and discrimination in hiring and in housing in some instances. Not enough, in my estimation, as a federal law. And in higher, in terms of who you serve, you don't have a problem with that. Like you don't have a problem with the Civil Rights Act.
I understand where it came from. The only thing I struggle with is at what level does this, is how much is too much? Like for example,
well, you tell me. Do you think it's too much to say to you if you own a restaurant that you have to seat everyone who comes in there is. You can't discriminate based upon race, let's say, or gender. Or
it's a great discussion piece, and here's where I go with that. I always thought that if you have started a business with your own money, and you're not receiving public funds, and you want to be stupid enough to discriminate and let the free market lambaste you and destroy you, that's your choice. But the argument really comes down to.
Well, but you're assuming, right, that's what happened. I mean, for instance, like, you could make that argument. I'm sure like in maybe 10, 15 years, most places wouldn't be a problem to be hostile to let's say gay people. But I mean, Chick-fil-A, what was the name of that place? I mean, that helped their business, didn't it?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, so I mean, the idea that it necessarily that you can assume that if a place of business was discriminatory, it would necessarily hurt their business. That's not really true. But even if it was, continue.
Well, and Chick-fil-A, in their case, I don't even think they were discriminating. I think the president just said he didn't believe in same-sex marriage, and
right, and that bigotry actually helped his business. But that's fine. But let's just assume. I'll stipulate that. Yeah, maybe it would hurt people's business if they were racist in certain areas. But go ahead.
Okay, I believe that a privately held business should be able to do business with whoever they want, and let the free market dictate. And if somebody wants to be stupid enough to discriminate, then the one who pay the penalty is them. But where
don't you think that if I'm African American and I'm in a small town, let's say, I don't know where, in Pennsylvania, yeah, and the hotel won't let me stay there, do you really think? I mean, I'm not sure that person, that business owner, is actually going to pay more of a price than I will, because I can't do commerce in that business. I can't do business. In that town. Business in that.
That's what the argument comes down to. Like, to use an example of a small town where you have, one gas station that won't sell gas to Muslims, and the next one's 50 miles away. That's where the problem exists. But so and that's where, as a libertarian, there's an ethical dilemma, because you don't want to force people to do things that they don't want to do. But at the same time, you're thinking, okay, this is a public business, and it's and it is discriminating in such a way that it's causing an undue convenience to a person. I'm wondering if there's a private sector way of solving that.
Well,
because that is a dilemma.
That's an important thing to work out, I think, if you have the disposition that you do. What would be the private sector resolution for that?
Well, the problem is it would be courts, and courts would require laws. So, I haven't figured it out yet.
Yeah, that's a big dilemma, I think, for libertarians.
It really is, because if you're,
because it basically says that the primary aspect of your philosophy, right, which is that property rights über alles, without a government that has a monopoly of power to enforce their essentially what you would perceive as a taking of their property rights, then that Muslim family can't get gas and can't participate in commerce in a certain area of town, is denied their ability to earn money, actually, or to do other things. And so that, to me, is the central or the best illustration of why libertarianism doesn't work. Why it's a problem.
Sam,
if you hold on, let me just finish.
All right, go ahead.
Why, if you take that elevator all the way to the bottom floor, it's very problematic. But even if you start heading down to the 50th floor, as you say, it becomes also problematic.
Okay, I really wanted to interrupt you there, Sam, because you said libertarianism doesn't work. I fervently disagree, because libertarianism is what this country was founded on. The founding fathers were libertarians. They experienced government tyranny to terrible levels and tried to plan a society that minimalized the potential of government tyranny. And when I try and look at things, I'm in awe of the messages of people like Thomas Jefferson, who recognize the fact that when people are afraid of government, it's tyranny. When the government's afraid of the people, it's liberty. Well, right now, people are afraid of government. I think that's bad, don't you?
Well, I mean, I don't know if people are really actively afraid of government. I mean, I think you are. But I think
when you
if
drive down the street and you see a police officer, does it make you nervous?
I mean, it doesn't me, but I think that for a lot of people who are differently situated, it does. And I certainly am for changes in the way that we police, but I don't perceive that as being bad. In fact, I'm very much looking forward to Social Security. I talk to people all the time who tell me, thank God for Medicare. It is a blessing where you don't have to deal with all these different private insurance companies and them always changing their plans and whatnot. I have people who tell me that their father died or their mother died, or and as they were in high school, and Social Security saved them. People who talk about Social Security disability. I thank God that I can go and buy food at my supermarket, and it doesn't matter where I am. I know that the food has, at the very least, met some minimum standards set by the federal government, and making sure that meat processing plants are run to code. I mean, I think on a daily basis. I mean, gosh, we're talking via the internet. Thank God the government existed to create this. I wish there was more. Actually, there was more government interference in that marketplace, because we would have far cheaper service and far better service. And I compare this to my friends from Europe. So no, I'm not broadly speaking afraid of the government. Hey, it's Sam Seder. Why don't you subscribe to this channel? You can do so right over here. Over. Subscribe.